I need to get away from politics for a little bit. So we are going to do a homeschooling video today. Hi, I'm Dawnita, prairiedoestrail.com. And I help people with homesteading, homemaking, homeschooling, and 10 hat stuff because I have a fabulous 10 hat that you guys need to see. Okay. But today I'm going to get away from the 10 hat things, going to get away from the politic things that I talk about. And I'm just going to dig into something. I'm not doing a whole lot on Substack right now, but Substack's the thing, right? And I'm kind of subscribed to this Dr. Claire Honeycutt. I'll see about putting a link to her thing. I've been impressed with her post. She had a post. If you could ask an experienced homeschool parent, one who's graduated children, anything, what would it be? I'll go first. How did you manage to fit it all in? That is the biggest question I ever get. That is the biggest question I ever get. How do you do it all? That is the question I have always had. And we exclusively homeschooled our 6, and they've all graduated. But how do you do it all? You don't. You don't do it all. The more you think you want to do, the less you'll get done. You don't. And it's okay. It's okay. Because they learn so much in so many other ways than what you actually think you're doing. Okay. So I'll get back to that. Let's see. Best advice for homeschooling teenagers. I don't allow teenagers in my home. That may seem odd. Okay. Let me explain this. Biblically speaking, they are youth about the age of 12, 13 years old. They are youth. That's when Yeshua went to the temple the first time. That is specifically, they become youth. So at that point in time, 12, 13 years old, I told all of mine, you are a youth. You act like either a child or an adult, and you will be treated as such. Okay. So by the time they get to that age, and because we exclusively homeschooled and they had never been in the system, by the time they were that age, they had it. They knew what they were doing. Okay. And we would just sit down a couple of times a year. I would reevaluate where they were at. And I would say, okay, I want you to do this book, this book, this book, and this book. And they do it. And they check their own work. They would come to me with questions, and we had lots of family discussions about whatever they were learning or their interests and things. So if you train them good, if you train them very well by the time they're 12, 13 years old, then homeschooling shouldn't be an issue. It should take about 3-ish hours, depending on whether you've got a particular project going on or something. We have a lot of agricultural things. So school, less different, depending on if there's ice to break in the waters, that's school, or if it's hot and they need extra water and, things like that. So it just depends on where you're at and everything. But yeah, don't sweat it. Let them be a part of picking the curriculum, picking the subjects that they want to learn, things like that. See where they need help on things. I know when we hit high school, we spent a whole year on character. That's huge. It was great. It was great. And you can learn history, science, all these things. I use the character first education curriculum. That was awesome. That was absolutely awesome. And I suggest everybody start that way even before that. But that's when we were kind of introduced to it. It was awesome. So anyway, start teaching them, business skills, get them a checking account, start balancing checkbooks, start handling money, things like that. Uh, you know, that's what that should be. They did we studied the Constitution of the United States, the Federalist Papers and Anti-Federalist Papers, the Dave Ramsey stuff, and things like that. Learning finances and economics and government and stuff like that, and then just whatever science and things that they were interested in, right? Okay. What's one resource or curriculum you swear by? Matthew C. It has manipulatives, blocks kind of like Legos, and other things that help with like fractions and stuff like that help you see. And so it's good for kinesthetic learners, it's good for visual learners, and they have videos that go with the lessons that explain it. So it's good for auditory learners. All the learners all hit in there. The lessons are short, and I'm a math whiz, but not all of my children took to math like I did, and it worked great. So yeah, that's one I personally swear by. I know some people don't like it, but just personally. Let's see. And they had one comment of character matters more than curriculum. Already touched on that. Absolutely. If you have got good training in, good character, Charlotte Mason taught this, teaching them character and good habits is huge. They will want to learn. Okay, let's see. Depends a lot on the child. Let's see. Okay, look. And it does. It depends a lot on your family dynamics and your children. So, what kind of, one of the first things that I did was I got Cynthia Tobias's book on the way they learn. And that was excellent because it helped me understand the kind of learner I am, because the kind of learner that you are, the kind of learner that your husband is, that is how you're going to tend to teach. And then understanding the different learning styles of your children will help with that. And then love languages. Learning everybody's love languages will help you better understand what's going to sink in better with them. So if you have one with words of affirmation, then, lots of encouragement, verbal encouragement is really going to help. If you have one that is a quality time, they're going to want you to sit down with them and do projects with them or read with them, things like that, and all children have all of those at the beginning. So you need to cover them all. And the more you can do that, the more it sticks. The more you can hit all of the love languages and all of the personality traits and, and learning styles, the more it will all stick with them. Okay. What would you not have done? Fretted about curriculum and about, are they learning what they're supposed to be learning, scope and sequence, and things like that. Whenever it comes down to it, and we are all like that. My husband went to public school. I went to public school exclusively. There are so many things that were in the scope and sequence that we were supposed to have learned at different stages that we don't remember at all. So it's not that the teachers did a bad job. It's just that if you're interested, it's going to stick. If you're not, it's not. Okay. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I know some states have certain things that you have to touch on them, but don't expect it to stick. Okay. And there have been studies that if you read to your children, they do better on the testing. If you have to take, if they have to be tested, if you are reading aloud with your children, no matter what age, all the way up through high school, if you are reading aloud with your children, they'll do fine on the tests. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Okay. And, if you're in a state like mine where you don't have to do the testing, don't worry about the testing. We didn't do the ACT or the SAT even. Okay. And we had colleges begging for they, and I said, they haven't done the ACT or the SAT. And they were like, it doesn't matter. We'll do a college entrance exam and we would love to have your children. Okay. So don't worry about it. Okay. Testing. How do you go about it? Yep. Nope. Don't even recommend it. If you have to have testing in your state, then, like I said, if you're reading to your children, and it doesn't matter what you guys are reading, whether it's fiction, I suggest a well-rounded amount. Make sure you've got some, Shakespeare, some poetry, some, fun fiction. We would usually have something fun that the children would pick and then something educational that I would pick, and we would alternate, you know. So if you're reading to them, they will do good on the tests. Okay, let's see. For those with larger or wide age range families, which we did, our oldest was born in 91 and our youngest was born in 2006. I have to think about it. So there's quite an age range there, over 10 years, 15 years difference between the oldest and the youngest, and there are six of them. Okay. With a larger wide age range family, how did you approach co-ops, outside activities, sports, when you were postpartum and had nursing babies and stuff? If I couldn't take a nursing baby, I didn't go. Period. End of story. I dressed them all the same. It was easier for me to do little overalls on everybody, and I would wear overalls or an overall dress because we would stand out. It's easy to pick everybody out. I would put them in a bright colored t-shirt. They would all have the same color, bright colored t-shirts. And then we would have handkerchiefs. I mean, like cowboy handkerchiefs. And I had bought a bulk of cowboy handkerchiefs in cotton that were bright color, so they would all have the same color handkerchief, the same color t-shirt, and they would all have usually overalls. Um, and it was perfect. I could see everybody. And if it was an outdoor activity thing, I would put a blanket down and have my diaper bag and my lunch basket or whatever. And then I would have myself parked where I could see everybody and see what was going on. Um, I'd have a nursing cover and have baby, we'll go. Uh, my midwife was pretty adamant about not going anywhere, and my husband was too, about not going anywhere, doing anything for at least a month or two um, after baby's born. So co-ops were hard because I didn't have good health. We did co-ops. I helped teach art in one of the co-ops. And so co-ops kind of have their place, but for me, I needed to be involved in a co-op that was more flexible and was not expecting me to be there like every week or whatever. We also have to drive a long way for that type of thing. So it was better for me to be involved in a group that only met once every month or two personally. I would go out of my way occasionally every month or two to go visit another large family uh, with a mother that was older than me, a mentor for me, and with children that were around my children's ages or a little older. And so that I could learn from them, ask my questions, and we could do things together. So sometimes we would meet at a park, sometimes we would go to their house, whatever. We also had parties every once in a while, and we would invite other homeschool families over, and we would do, crafts or fun things. So that's how I handled that. And every family is different. I'm an extreme introvert, but our oldest was an extreme extrovert. Four out of our six children are extroverted. Um, so I really had to gauge my energy, but still try to get them out and about so that they could use up their extrovertedness. So, be flexible with that is what I would say. And be careful. Make sure that you're getting the rest that you need and stuff because that is important. Let's see. Let's see. What questions do you wish new homeschoolers would ask you? This was a great because the homeschoolers in our area avoid me like the plague. Okay. And I think it's sad. It because I would love to help, but they want nothing to do with me. There's a lot of politics in this, okay? Because we were the first homeschooling family in our county, and the whole county took it personally. Um, they took it as an affront to their schools. Nearly everybody here is either employed by the school or somebody in their close relatives is employed by the school. So I've got older people that blamed us that their children are homeschooling, and then they want nothing to do with me. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that I would love to impart to these moms. I would love to, just give them a hug, tell them you're doing great. You've joined an amazing adventure. Um, what do I wish you would ask? I just anything, anything. Um, you know, I I loved asking the older homeschool moms questions. And, I'm a big person on creating workable routines and stuff. So that's kind of where my expertise is, or my talents are, is in helping people create workable routines that can help them not be overwhelmed, because you can't homeschool and not get overwhelmed at some point. And I would love for people to ask me to help them tweak their routine, you know, because that's something that I'm good at, and organizing. So anyway, that was a good question. Let's see. Oh, this one's good. Let's see. Let's see. I often feel like I don't know what I don't know. Well, of course, that's okay. You don't have to know everything to homeschool. When you're homeschooling, you're learning with them. You're not just teaching them, you're learning with them. Okay. So let's see. I would love to hear from parents with kids with difficult educations, dyslexia, ADHD, autism, just any advice. Um, how did you keep from worrying too much? Well, we're mamas, and it's hard not to worry. So you're constantly just giving it to the Lord. Lord, this is your child. You know what's going on. You know what their wiring is. You know what they need. Help me. Take this child and do something with them. Yeah. We have one with an extreme, very weird form of dyslexia. Um, and it bothers me whenever people, at this point, whenever people consider literacy the ability to read. He can read, but he struggles really bad. And we just kept at it and kept at it and kept at it and did the best that we could do. Okay. But he still struggles in his 20s. And, you know, I worried and worried and worried and stressed, and I don't think I can keep you from doing that with these children. With any of our children, we all do that. But I would just say, make sure you're taking time to rest, make sure you breathe, make sure you're having fun with them. Make sure you're doing things that are fun. So this one, whenever we would do reading lessons, sometimes he would do reading lessons on his head. And he's got this thing where sometimes the letters just disappear off the page to him. They just don't show up, and various things. He had wonderful handwriting. He's got probably the best handwriting of all of my children, all of our children. Um, so he didn't get things backwards. He's great with numbers. It's just this really weird thing. And I would just say, God knows exactly what's going on. So give it to him, continue to give it to him, My grandfather used to compare it to playing basketball, where you'll be going down the court with the basketball and you pass it off and to God, and you're playing with him, you pass it off to God, but then he's not making the shot that you think he needs to make. So you're trying to get the basketball back from him so that you can make the shot. And I think that's a good analogy. So yeah. Did you prune down what they were learning? No, I did not prune down what they were learning. I added more to what they were learning in different ways. So if you have one that's dyslexic, add tons of auditory stuff. Do documentaries, do as much visual and hands-on stuff as you can. If it'd be the same way with all of these, same way with all of these. If you a child with ADHD, with autism, do as many activities and things with them as possible. Read to them, do audio books, have classical music going on in the background, and guys, if you don't think you like classical music, turn on soundtracks from movies that you enjoyed. It's classical music, but everybody likes a good soundtrack. Okay. So, anyway, those are the suggestions I have in that. And definitely, if you have more questions, please leave them in the comments. I'd be thrilled to go through this. Let's see. There's some here. Biblical Woman had answered some of the questions, and she said, we didn't fit in, and that's okay. Yeah, we didn't fit in. We didn't fit into the local homeschool groups. We didn't, we don't fit into the community. That's okay. Be oddballs. The Bible says to be a peculiar people. Be peculiar. Own it. Um, let them sleep in. My husband was adamant about that. I wanted to get them to bed at a certain time and I wanted to get them up at certain times. I'm very organized. Was I had my whole life planned out before we got married, and he didn't plan anything. So you um I realized later, after really struggling with this, that I just let it be. Um, don't worry about having, unless your husband is one of those really organized people and he wants a specific bedtime and a specific time to get up in the morning, do that if that's the way he is leading your family. If not, let it go. Let it go. We need a lot more sleep than our society gets. So, and especially teens, toddlers and teens need a lot of sleep. So, you know, let them rest. Let them rest. And I think that's it. I think that's all I've got here. So, anyway, if you have any other questions, let me know. I I just thought I would pull this up. Two little grandsons are on their way to come visit me, Ma, today, and I saw this on Substack, and I'm like, I need to do a video on this. This would be great. So, and it's something different than what's going on today, because no matter what's happening in the rest of the world, and we do need to keep an eye on things, our number one priority is our children. Our number one priority is our family. Okay. So, you know, I told Paul the other day, I've done my job. I've done my job. We taught our children, we raised our children in the way of the Lord. And that that's big. We raised 6 individuals who are capable of critical thinking and research and who still love to learn. And that 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 was worth it. That was worth it. If the Lord took me home today, that was worth it. I did it. So, enjoy the ride, play lots of games, read lots of books, watch lots of documentaries and stuff, and just enjoy that. And, the most important thing is that we're ready for eternity. It doesn't matter what the administration is doing. It doesn't matter what the world is doing. It doesn't matter, those things. Yeshua has already conquered. The war is won. We're still fighting battles, not that we don't need to fight, but the war is won. So let's concentrate on the things that he's given us first and keep those priorities in place and make sure we're enjoying the blessings that he has given us and resting as we need to. So, okay. Let me know what comments, questions you have below. And remember, you can make it through the dust storms of life with God's divine help.